Hey everyone, here we are once again on the cusp of another lay formation weekend coming up just next weekend. It's a beautiful morning here today, and here is your video preview of what you can expect for the coming weekend. The weekend itself is going to be pretty simple and straightforward, at least as far as me giving a preview for anything goes, because it's a retreat, and so it's a time apart. A time away from the regular course of life, a time that we set apart in our program every year for God to work within us, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, a time to encounter the face of Christ's love and mercy for you, and a time to ask really what Christ desires for you now and going into the future, a time to discover God at work really in all of the things of your life and in the world. Now, your retreat director, you're all going to be very familiar with him. This is Father John O'Brien, and you met him for your Advent mini retreat in December. He's very much looking forward to spending this weekend with you. By way of a theme, what we've been talking about, myself and Father Brian, and thinking about together, he'll be spending a bit of time with you, helping to dig a little deeper into the practices of discernment, especially in making essential distinctions between spiritual consolations and desolations. You know, those two spiritual states, they let us know where we are in relation to God, and they're our spiritual compass, really. Just like a compass is invaluable in helping us to navigate through unfamiliar territory, knowing where we are in this place and time in relation to God is a huge value in listening to God's invitations and his encouragements. And so Father John's going to help you deepen that awareness of those spiritual states and give you some time to build up that awareness. So he'll not only be sharing information about these kinds of spiritual states of consolation and desolation, but he'll be giving you lots of time over the weekend to practice that awareness. At the same time, he's going to introduce you to several Ignatian prayer practices that can help build this spiritual awareness and also can be used to help in your discernment, in any discernment process. They can become valuable tools for growing in your spiritual life. So here's a few things that we want you to know about the retreat. We would like all participants to maintain silence during the course of the retreat, whenever you're on campus. So as soon as you drive onto that campus, think about getting into that space of silence. I know that we're retreating on an active college campus. We can't restrict our exposure to external noise. I know sometimes people regret that we weren't still out at St. Michael's as we were doing these retreats, but in all honesty, St. Michael's was never able to guarantee a complete silence for us out there as well for our retreats, so we just have to cope with the fact that the world goes on even while we're on retreat. And I would propose that that's actually a good practice for us to engage in. There's a great spiritual value in fostering a level of internal peace and internal silence that can be carried with us out into the world, even in the midst of its busyness. It's a skill that you'll get to practice this weekend. It's also true that even while we are creating these spaces of internal contemplative silence, they make us more sensitive and more aware to the ways that God is active and busy in the world around us. We can start to spot God's activity around us, and that's also not a bad thing to be doing in the course of a retreat. Fostering this internal space of retreat is going to help you embrace the world as it is, while maintaining that internal stance of stillness and peace. And you'll be surprised at what you'll become aware of during the course of this retreat, and what the Holy Spirit will draw your attention to during this time. Now, the added benefit is that you'll have spent time practicing a spiritual skill that you can put into active use in your daily life. Now, as you know, normally our weekends are shared with the deacons in formation already. The same will be true this coming weekend with one important addition. The auditorium and the student commons will be hosting a deacon conference at the same time as our retreat is going on. In light of this, we're going to avoid the main floor of Campion College completely, whenever possible. All of our retreat activities will take place on the second, third, and fourth floors, as well as having access to the campus grounds and the Wascana Trail system. And if the weather is anything like it is today, it's going to be a beautiful, beautiful time for spending some time outdoors on retreat. You're asked to use the main glass entrance and those stairs to get up and down, so that you can avoid those other set of stairs that are by the classrooms, and avoid the conference as much as possible, as well as the elevator. You can use the elevator to get up and down if you need to. In the past years, we've had participants bringing blankets so that you can find a cozy spot under a tree outside somewhere and spend that time as your time of reflection while this new life of spring is kind of bursting all around us. So that's something you might want to think about as well. Your retreat ends on Sunday right before lunch. So the Sunday morning session will come to an end at its usual time, or about its usual time, and then the retreat is officially over at that point. So you don't have to worry about maintaining silence anymore. We'll have lunch. We won't be gathering together at 1:30 like we normally do for a debrief. Once lunch is done, you're generally free to go home, with a couple of exceptions. If your small group has any liturgical duties or planning that needs to take place before our June weekend, you're asked to do it on the Sunday after lunch. And the same goes if there's still some fun award prep and banquet prep that needs to be done. You're asked to stay after lunch on Sunday and gather together to do that preparation during that time. You are completely and entirely discouraged from doing any of that planning during the course of the actual retreat. So at no time do we want to have little groups of people getting together during the retreat to do the planning that they need to plan in June. Retreat time is retreat time, and Sunday after lunch can be the time for your planning time. Okay? Just wanted to make sure that we're clear on that. And I wanted to leave you, as we wrap this up, with words from one of my favorite spiritual writers, Thomas Merton. His essay entitled Rain and the Rhinoceros is one that I spend time with every spring. It's actually become a spiritual tradition of mine that with the first rainfall, normally, I break this out and just spend some time reflecting on his words. They're good words to lead into a time of retreat as well. So here's what he has to say. Let me say this: before rain becomes a utility that they can plan and distribute for money. By they, I mean the people that can't understand that rain is a festival, who do not appreciate its gratuity, who think that what has no price has no value, that what can't be sold isn't real, so that the only way to make something actual is to place it on the market. The time will come when they will sell you even your rain. At the moment it's still free, and I'm in it. I celebrate its gratuity and its meaninglessness. The rain I'm in is not like the rain of cities. It fills the woods with an immense and confused sound. It covers the flat roof of the cabin and its porch with inconsistent and controlled rhythms. And I listen because it reminds me again and again that the whole world is run by rhythms I have not yet learned to recognize, rhythms that are not those of the engineer. I came up here from the monastery last night, sloshing through the cornfield as had vespers, and put some oatmeal on the Coleman stove for supper. It boiled over while I was listening to the rain and toasting a piece of bread on a log fire. At night, it became very dark. The rain surrounded the whole cabin with its enormous virginal myth, a whole world of meaning, of mulch of dead leaves soaking the trees, filling the gullies and the crannies of the wood with water, washing out the places where men have stripped the hillside. What a thing it is to sit absolutely alone in the forest at night, cherished by this wonderful, unintelligible, perfectly innocent speech, the most comforting speech in the world. The talk that rain makes by itself all over the ridges, and the talk of the watercourses everywhere in the hollows. Nobody started it. Nobody is going to stop it. It will talk as long as it wants, this rain. As long as it talks, I'm going to listen. And so as you head into this time of retreat that's coming up next weekend, hold those words and those themes in your hearts. We'll be going on retreat, as we said, fostering an inner space of silence and peace, even while an inconsistent and controlled rhythm of activity goes on around you. Listen to it talk and let it speak for as long as it wants. And for as long as it speaks, listen. I hope you have yourselves a wonderful day, a wonderful weekend. I look so much forward to seeing you on our upcoming weekend.